So Father Ray thinks I should have a good cry. But where? Well, obviously the most comfortable place to cry is in the cinema. Do you think that there's such a thing as, like, going to see a weepy film to have a good cry, and does it help?
Yeah, it does. I went for a phase of watching Armageddon just so I would cry.
Good. Clint Eastwood, no, Mel Gibson. And
Mad
he lost
Max.
his wife.
Oh.
No. Something young.
Hugh and Andy McDowell, they're so good together. No, not that one.
I've only ever cried once in my life at the cinema.
Oh, what was that?
It was a film called Little Princess.
Probably something like Schindler's List, some big tragedy.
Yeah. Naturally, it's good acting that elicits tears in the cinema. I'm going to see Richard E. Grant, who had us all weeping into our popcorn in Jack and Sarah. Except me, of course. Right up the front, please. Thank you. Richard, are you a crier?
Yeah, big blubber.
Are you?
Yeah, baby boy.
What at? What sort of things?
Standing ovations. Children.
Standing ovations?
Yeah, if people do a standing ovation at something, I'll start crying.
Not just for you?
No. Never done one for me. No, yeah, that makes me cry. Intense happiness makes me cry. Movies, my daughter, anything to do with children on the news, and I'm a goner. And I know you don't cry at all.
No, I don't really.
Cold-hearted.
Old bag. That's true. Do you think actually...
So I'm incontinent and you're constipated emotionally?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So we
'Cause I
both
blub
need...
and you can't.
Yes. Somewhere in the middle,
Yeah.
we meet to make a perfectly rounded person. Do you think going to the pictures to see a weepy film is a positive thing for people in a sort of cathartic way?
Oh, yeah, hugely. I remember in E.T. and Gandhi, those two movies that came out in 1983, these two little funny-looking guys, and people blubbed openly in those movies. You could hear them doing all that. Because there's so many goodbyes in the story sort of
Yes.
built in.
Do you think being able to cry easily as a person helps you to cry more easily as an actor when it's called for?
Yeah, I can cry very, very quickly.
Can you?
Yeah.
Do you want to... Can you cry now?
Yeah.
Go on then. That was quick. That was about 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Hope you weren't thinking about me.
No, it's just... You either, you know, I think you just can or you can't.
Do you use it?
If I'm required to in
Like,
the part...
say you got arrested for bad driving.
Would I
You
burst
have a
into
crack
tears?
at it, yeah.
I hadn't thought of that, but I will do, yeah.
But is it purely a physical thing that you do, or do you have an emotional picture in your head of something like...
Yeah, just go straight to something that's sad.
Do you always pick the same one, or do you pick different ones? Any old one will do.
Any old one will do, yeah.
I'm really
I
interested
mean, I've had such
in
a
that.
tragic life that, you know, I can
Have
draw on
you?
anything.
Yeah. Well, I was very impressed by Richard's ability to cry. What a useful weapon to have in your arsenal, particularly at moments of threat. Some years ago, I was hitchhiking foolishly, got picked up by a squaddie and driven down a dark lane. I actually feared for my life. I decided to go on the offensive and I shouted, "What do you think you're going to do now?" And weirdly, he started crying. And a friend of mine said to me afterwards, had he just put his glasses on? Charming. It seems like everyone else can turn on the tears apart from me. But do I really need to? Is it actually good for us? Well, I've found a tear clinic in America, and I'm going to talk to crying guru and biochemist Bill Frey. Am I going to America? Pfft, what do you think? Hello, Bill.
Hi, Joe. It's nice to meet you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
That's it. I've made you bigger. You're much better. Can I start, Bill, by asking you, what is the reason, in an evolutionary sense, that humans actually cry? Why did they develop that ability?
Well, first of all, we do know that humans are the only animals that have evolved this ability to shed tears in response to emotional stress. And I think the reason this evolved is that unalleviated emotional stress or chronic stress is actually quite damaging to the body. It causes the release of hormones, and these hormones actually can damage brain cells in your brain. So when you cry, this is a method that humans have evolved to alleviate emotional stress.
So you're saying that if you don't cry very much, like I don't, you're in trouble?
Well, now, of course, you're a comedian, so laughter is, in fact, another mechanism of alleviating stress.
What about smoking a lot?
Not a good idea.
OK, fair enough. So we're sort of saying then, well, you're saying crying is very important for your psychological and physical health, really.
It is. We know that 85% of women, 73% of men say they feel better after crying. And crying is an excretory process, something coming out of the body. And if you think about it, we exhale to get rid of CO2, we urinate to get rid of waste products. Crying, in fact, I think is probably something similar, only more involved in alleviating stress.
That's quite an uncomfortable image, though, isn't it? Urinating out of your eyes. But if it's doing the job, I suppose it's doing the job. So if you're someone like me that doesn't cry terribly often, if hardly ever, would you advise me to try and just cry a bit more?
Yeah, I would advise you to cry a bit more, but you can't really make yourself cry. You more have to give yourself permission to sort of wallow in a little bit what it is that's upsetting to you. And once you're really upset, you'll cry. It just happens almost automatically.
Well, I quite fancy having a wallow in misery. But that, I mean, I'd just probably have a talk with my husband. That'd do it, probably.
That would probably do it, yes.
Listen, it's an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much. And you've really added to my knowledge, because I actually had no idea that crying could be such a positive thing.
Well, thank you. It was good to speak with you, Joe.
You're a genius.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye now.
Well, that was a bit of a revelation. Crying is good for you. It's definitive. But I'm just not a crier. I mean, Bill's told me I'm not crying enough and I need to take it more seriously. So I need to find out what are the things and where are the places that make us cry. And the bottom line is, I need to learn to do it a bit more. First, I want to know if the old tear ducts are in good working order. I'm off to see Dr. Jimmy Udin at Moorfields Eye Hospital. Jimmy, let's say that something external makes me cry, like a horrible heckler. So I hear that, the message goes into my brain, and my brain says, oh dear, you poor thing, you better have a bit of a cry about that because he was so horrible.
And what you have is you have pathways from places such as the hypothalamus, basal ganglia, frontal cortex, and these are complex parts of the brain where you have the emotional response.
Gosh, it is quite complicated, isn't it?
You have a series of nerve pathways that run eventually to the tear gland, the lacrimal gland, and the tear gland produces the tears.
It's time to give my lacrimal gland an MOT.
So what we'll try and do now is examine your actual tear film, and then we'll try and see any actual tear production. Sorry, it's a little bit uncomfortable.
That's okay.
Under the upper lid is where the tear gland drains. So the tear gland sits up here and then drains into these special ducts that sit under the lid here. And if we're lucky, we may be able to demonstrate that.
Are you going to poke me in the eye?
Okay, if you'd like to sit back, please.
You notice he didn't answer that.
If we can try and have a look and see if we can actually see any of the tears being produced. And then if you can look down, please. Look down into your left. That's the tear gland itself, actually, which is a nice shot in itself. Yeah, just look down, please. I'm going to put in this stain. Those streams are streams of tears coming through. It's like a little river running through or the opposite way around when you get dye going into a big pool.
Yeah.
Sort of the opposite. It dilutes it out. And you see this, and we can see it. So what we've just demonstrated there is your actual tear production from this lacrimal gland producing real tears. Those are the tears that come out of the tear gland. Those are the actual tears.
So I can cry,
Yes, you can.
physiologically speaking.
Absolutely.
Properly. Oh, jolly good. That's good news to know that physically I am able to cry. So all I need now is some bad news to see if I can let it all out. Well, I'm just going to go and meet Jeremy Stockwell, who's a drama coach at RADA. And if anyone can make me cry, surely it's got to be him.
Hello, and thank you for coming. Walk around the room, walk around the room, walk around the room, walk around the room. Try jogging around the room, folks, jogging. Any which way, don't jog in a circle. Any which way. When I clap my hands, I want you to stop. When I clap my hands, I want you to face a new direction. When I clap my hands, go off in that new direction. Off you go, there'll be 3 claps. The first is stop, turn, go. Keep going, ladies and gentlemen, stop.
It's certainly going to make me cry if I have to do much more of this.
Stop, turn, go, stop, turn, go, stop, turn. You know, I haven't said go, so we get into the habit of acting, the habit of, you know, producing emotions, whether that's crying or laughing, the habit of saying, oh, I always do this scene this way. It's very easy, isn't it, for us to get into the habit. You couldn't go on stage and really commit to the moment of now if you were stuck in that habit. Does that make sense to you? Yeah? Acting is you, as if, whatever, as if you're tortured, upset, stressed. Acting is you as if you're in love, but it is you. It's never not you. Comedians can make fantastic actors. I've said this many times to Jo. She won't buy it, but it's true. Comedians can make very good actors because they're aware of that ocean of emotion, that connection. We're connecting. We're riding, we're surfing that. You look at, it's an old reference, but if you look at Laurence Olivier in The Entertainer, good though he wasn't really connecting with that audience there. He was acting that connection. I don't want to criticize this guy, but it's true. But it's true. Sure. Well, perhaps now he looks rather over the top. But if you look at someone like Billy Connolly, if you look at someone like Les Dawson, you look at someone like Max Wall, these are comedians of my youth, and they were fantastic actors. And they were fantastic actors because they were aware of that connection, that interconnectivity here. But if you can make people laugh, the flip side is you can certainly make them cry. You certainly can make them cry. Choose with no words, arms by your sides, out of pockets. Choose at this moment to look into the eyes of your partner and just choose now to love them.
This is what we've been waiting for.
You can choose to love this person right now.
Have a thought for this poor woman. They've chosen to stare at me. She wants to take it all seriously, and she's got me to deal with. I'm more embarrassed than when I wet myself in assembly, age 5.
And turn it up a little bit more. No invention. And now turn another aspect of yourself and choose at this time to have utter and total and absolute compassion for this person. And let that build. And so that in your heart there is warm feeling which will grow and grow. And there's a sadness about that. And you can turn that up. And there's a human being in this form in front of you.